New reports reveal the U.S. has sent private messages to Russia warning against using nuclear weapons as they threatened, because they're losing this war in Ukraine, it seems. This as Russian men are fleeing the country rapidly to avoid Vladimir Putin's military draft. Here to react, General Keane, retired four-star general, Fox News strategic analyst. General, they are preventing 18 to 34-year-olds from buying one-way tickets out of the country. The line to Kazakhstan and Mongolia is through the roof, and just about 6,000 people left into Finland yesterday trying to get out of that country, and we're watching riots take place. How significant is this?
Oh, I think it's very significant. I mean, first of all, Putin was forced into this. It's not something he really wanted to do, obviously. He has people, these ultra-nationalists that are really criticizing him for the conduct of the war. They wanted full mobilization to be able to put the Ukrainians to bed once and for all. He knows that would be an absolute political disaster for him, because many of the influential people in Russia's children would be drafted into the war. I mean, why are people running from this war? If Russia was really being threatened by another country and their survival was at stake, we know the history of the Russian people. They would fight, and they would stand up for their country. But people are running from this because they don't have a stake in it. And as far as they were concerned, 7 months ago, this was in a faraway place from where they're living, and they were not involved. And now Putin has got them involved in this. So I think it's likely this will blow back on him. And even if he's able to assemble hundreds of thousands of troops, here's what's going to show up. People who are physically unfit, people who are medically unfit, and obviously people who are psychologically and emotionally not ready to fight. And what are they going to join? They're going to join a unit that's on the battlefield, that's poorly led, poorly trained, and has not been successful at conducting the operations that they're pursuing. So, yes, Putin has got a problem here. He is losing the war now. Doesn't mean he will eventually lose it, but he certainly is on his way to that.
So we don't understand he's going to try to do this phony annexing in the next few days and say, there's a vote. These areas of the Donbass are going to be part of Russia. And that means we have to defend our land. What's behind this?
Well, it's a political statement to show some degree of success more than anything else. That's what this is. I mean, he knows full well that even in the Donbass region, they don't completely have control of that territory. None of these territories, the four of them that he's claiming, do they have complete control of. So this is not a military effort he's taking here. This is a political effort. And it's trying to demonstrate some degree of success to his domestic audience more than anything else. It's completely hollow on the surface of it. And in terms of attacking it, listen, the Ukrainians have been attacking Crimea, which already is annexed by Russia and, in theory, a part of Russia. And Russia has not responded in kind. As a matter of fact, there's been fleeing going on by the people in that part of the country where the Ukrainians have been successful in conducting their operations in Crimea.
Friendly news outlets are beginning to criticize the war and Vladimir Putin. The protests are getting bigger. This whole thing, I hope, is coming apart for that brutal dictator, our modern-day Stalin/Hitler. General Keane, thanks so much.
Yeah, great talking to you, Brian. Have a wonderful weekend, you and the team.
Absolutely, and the general never stops monitoring the situation, so you'll keep on following the Institute for the Study of War. It's extremely informational.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.